Yeah, what's up, everybody? What's going on? It's your boy MM2K of PNTS Network and CloudDosage, and we're back again with another episode of this is not GFN Countdown. That's coming tomorrow. This is Sound Off. So let me put that there so we can off. Yes, this is Sound Off. We're back. After a short hiatus, this is Sound Off. Why? Hold on. Why is something weird is going on? And why is the browser window capture? Hold on. I got to fix something here. Okay, the chroma. There we go. There we go. All right. Let's do that one more time. Sound off. Ah, there you go, baby. All right, this is going to be our members content for today. It'll go live next week for non-members. But I really wanted to address something that has really been irking me. And I've been seeing it since the death of Stadia. And I want to address it real quick because we're seeing it more and more in places and it needs to stop. It really does. Give me a second. Let me just do something real quick and then we're going to get right into it. Because I ain't got much time because I got to pick up my wife. Hold on one second. I'm coming. I'm coming. Eyes are coming. Eyes are coming. for those of you that are into console gaming as well, likely because of the death of Stadia, and you've spread your wings and broaden your horizons, you might want to check something out here. I'm going to have this here. We had a very interesting show that I did earlier today on behalf of PNTS Network. It was called a Lyrics to Go NRO podcast version of Lyrics to Go. And it is a special episode that is available to our Patreon members, our CloudDosage members. So if you're listening to this as a CloudDosage episode of Sound Off opposed to the arguable is the public version of Sound Off. If you're listening to this as Sound Off opposed to the arguable, or you're a member on our Twitch hub, check this out. $5 a month will get you access to PNTS Network Patreon stuff and any of our CloudDosage stuff, and even my Twitch stuff that is strictly for our Twitch people. So you definitely want to maybe try that out. You'll get to hear that great content. We talked about Redfall launching at 30 frames per second. I know it's not a bigger deal on the cloud side, but for those of you that are console gamers that are more like on the techie 60 frames per second side, you may want to check out what I got to say there. And also just follow us at PNTSnetwork.com for all the latest and greatest and all of gaming news. But definitely do not miss us over on CloudDosage.com, where we got the latest and greatest in cloud gaming news specifically. All right, I just wanted to show you guys that before we got into today's show. All right, so I'm going to talk about Stadia. And the thing is that you've had a lot of people post-mortem come out and say stuff about Stadia and, give this was the prophecy coming to fruition, and it's so sad. You know what I'm saying? Like they didn't have something to do with Stadia being so downtrodden as far as perception was concerned, right? They had nothing to do with it. Like they weren't out there convincing people that maybe were just looking at their tags and saying, oh, this is so-and-so that reports on Google stuff, or, oh, this is a site that focuses on things related to on cloud gaming, or, oh, this is they weren't looking at that level of expertise or that perception of your level of expertise, and they didn't see the constant pounding on Stadia. That had nothing to do with it. It was all Stadia, right? You know what I'm saying? And we're not going to use this podcast to admonish Stadia. I've got on them while they were alive. I got on them post-mortem about certain things, but we're not going to sit here and try to wipe away the things that really led to the death of Stadia. And someone that was a serious Stadia denier, it got to the point to where they started pleading with Stadia why they should close down when they didn't have the belief that it would. This is why you should close down. You should make me right. We're going to put out there the fact that this was a self-fulfilling prophecy for them, and they're gloating over it. So the hypocrisy post-mortem of Stadia needs to die. All right? Let's get into it. I want to welcome everybody to this video where I kind of as a project, I labeled this the Stadia Quandary, but it's a lot bigger than that. Today we'll be deep diving into the topic of Stadia, Google's cloud gaming service, which was shut down earlier this year. And we'll be exploring Stadia's closure, and we'll be looking at it through the prism as it being a bad thing for the advancement of gaming technology altogether. I'm not saying cloud gaming is dead or whatever, but I am stating that the advancement of cloud technology are thresholds for new advancements and things like that. It's just gotten a lot worse, and therefore it's going to make gaming worse because of it. I'm going to get into all that and how that's related to Stadia. It's a bad thing for gaming technology for all gamers, despite its perceived failures. So let's just give a little background on Stadia. Stadia was launched in 2019 with a lot of buzz and excitement several months before its release. However, prior to its launch, there was a lot of misinformation regarding how many homes the product was targeting and what they would need for success, and just certain things about it working even like immediately during launch. It's a whole hubbub about that all on this channel. I'm not going to get into all of it. But what we do know is the fact is that Google internally had estimated they could get around 1 million active users by the end of 2020, but they fell short about that goal, about 250,000 in the final month of December. All right, and we got that courtesy of flip-floppy reporting that was done. I think it was Business Insider or whatever. Now, in relation to Stadia's closure, despite the shortfall, Google decided to close all of Stadia's internal development studios in February 2021. They decided instead to take that money and focus on making Stadia easier for developers to port to. How do we know? Because we got inside information about the load change porting and the Stadia keynote before they announced it to you. We told you before they did. All right. And that happened a lot of times on this channel, when it was Stadia Dosage. The decision came as a surprise to many, including most of the internal Stadia team, who were not aware of Google's decision until the day that it was made public that they were shutting down the service. Now, I'm not going to sit there and say that everybody was surprised. There were some people that they figured would be key in other areas, other departments. They let them know early. Then they felt like they could trust them. They let them know early because they could be converting to other things. People that were solely going to be focused on Stadia and then maybe their futures were up in the air, didn't know until that day. All right. So with that said, there was just a bunch of things that they still had on the docket that a lot of those people that were working on Stadia, again, per really credible inside sources, that just showed that the Stadia team was really gung-ho. They were told by the upper Stadia brass, we're going to support you. Signs of that was being shown because investments, there are developers that we talked to where investments, they were showing them, look, we're making investments in making this thing better. They really were in the mind state of improving this thing. One of those things were the bring your own game project. You hear me refer to that a lot via Amazon Luna, but that's really a moniker that was with Stadia first. The Stadia team was about to announce the bring your own game project, which was going to allow PC games to be playable on Stadia. The first bring your own games part of this project were to be Ubisoft PC games. Okay. From there, Stadia would allow other PC games to be playable on Stadia, similar to what NVIDIA Geforce Now does with PC games. In addition to that, to a lot of the falsehoods that was out there, a lot of people may say, well, no, MM2K, it's because Stadia wasn't doing too well. We've seen things where Stadia didn't have the monthly active users that other platforms had, and that's why they decided to shut it down. They made that decision all the way back in 2021 when they first closed down SG&E. It's false. It's not true that Google Stadia underperformed versus its peers. All right, when you look at everything in totality, or certain elements where they didn't do as well, they did kind of bad. There are other elements where they outperformed their peers. All right, you got to look at the extrapolated data, something we provided all regularly here on CloudDosage. Me and Jack DeSlip. Jack is a master data configurer, and we were going through the data. We were doing that on a regular basis, and we showed you a lot of eye-opening things as far as trends were concerned. And then when the actual data came out, it way often more than not, confirmed the data that we've already extrapolated through Jack's process. Google Stadia may have had fewer monthly active users. However, the extrapolated data shows that Stadia performed as well as its peers overall, particularly as far as dedicated players that regularly played in the cloud, that were eyeballing cloud gaming as one of their ways of gaming. The target 1% demographic that all these cloud platforms are trying to springboard from once cloud gaming becomes more mainstream. The extrapolated data also shows that Stadia really up until 2022 likely make the most money out of all the cloud services via Stadia Pro. I mean, it's hard to extrapolate data and see how many cloud gamers were on PlayStation Now for the cloud element of it, because you got to remember PlayStation Now also had a local playing element to it, along with the cloud element to it. That being said, through a lot of the extrapolated data, it doesn't seem like it was a lot of people that were trying it opposed to Stadia. You look at GFN, even though GFN had more monthly active users, people that pinged in monthly into the service one time. That's all they had to do. There's even information out there, I believe, from Statista that showed that Stadia was running neck and neck with subscription as far as subscriptions were concerned. So they were launched in less places, but they were running neck and neck with them as far as subscriptions were concerned. And you can isolate Stadia subscriptions and GFN subscriptions a lot easier than you can isolate cloud gaming subscriptions or cloud gaming only subscriptions or cloud gaming primarily subscriptions holders for xCloud or PlayStation Now at the time, or even Amazon, as far as the Prime active users were concerned, because around the time that this data was taken, Amazon had did the thing that again would boost its monthly active usership via Amazon Prime, but they melded that together with Luna to a certain extent. So it was hard to isolate that, but it's very easy to isolate GFN cloud specific memberships or subscriptions versus Stadia Pro cloud specific subscriptions, because those are cloud specific platforms that were not tethered to any native play or anything else, right? Stadia was running neck and neck with NVIDIA Geforce Now in subscriptions. And if that is the case, Stadia made more money than them, because not only does Stadia get paid from subscriptions, but Stadia gets paid from game purchases, a la carte purchases, DLC, the likes. So they definitely were making more money than GFN. You know what I'm saying? And that's not to downtrot GFN. I think GFN is doing fairly well. That just shows you how well they were doing. I think the thing that kind of murkies the water after like mid 2022, I haven't seen any extrapolated data on it. Jack probably has, I haven't talked to him about it, but I think the thing that kind of muddies the water is once xCloud became higher in monthly active usership, that was tied to Fortnite and their ingenious way of, for those that were disenfranchised from Apple, they now had ways to play Fortnite via Xbox, no extra charge. So therefore, there could be a lot of DLC via Fortnite that was being associated to Xbox. That changes everything. You know what I'm saying? But until then, it is very easy to isolate cloud subscription participation, and it looks like Stadia was likely making the most up until that time, probably even after, who knows? I doubt it, but that I can say with confidence before that happened, they were making the most money. And you look at the fact that developers were very distraught by the closure of Stadia because of the revenue they were getting from this Stadia Pro revenue sharing. So that just shows you that there was a lot of money involved there. But that's not it for the misinformation. Unfortunately, the media and some journalists got a lot of key information about the platform, what it was trying to achieve, who its target demographic was at launch, and why it closed down and why it ultimately shut down. They got that all wrong. All of that stuff wrong. I'm going to repeat it. The key information that was wrong was what they were trying to achieve, who its target demo was at launch, why it closed down SG&E, why it ultimately shut down. These inaccuracies have led many people to believe that Stadia was a failure, which is simply not true when you look at how it advanced cloud gaming in so many ways and what it was attempting to do in its target demo versus its peers. It wasn't a failure in that sense. Now, Google may have had another set of milestones, unfathomable ones at that, and that was a failure. It was a failure as a product for them because of those unfathomable milestones. But as far as what it was providing and how its outreach to the cloud gaming demographic, no, not so much. This is why I think Stadia's closure is a bad thing. we've explored the background and some misconceptions about Stadia. Now let's talk about why its closure is a bad thing for the advancement of gaming technology for all gamers. First, Stadia was a major player in the cloud gaming space. It was the only one in the cloud gaming space that offered AAA titles in a way that it did. It had its own specific cloud gaming features, right? Like Stream Connect and so forth. It was the only one out there that was focusing on those features. Okay. Now, with Stadia's closure, the cloud gaming market is dominated by a select few companies, and it is a limit. It's more of a limit on innovation and competition in the space. Secondly, Stadia's closure means that their version of the Bring Your Own Games project, which would have allowed gamers to play their favorite PC games, won't see the light of day as far as it being provided from Stadia. And that's bad because that was the biggest argument with Stadia. I want a dedicated selection of games that I don't need to just get from Stadia. And a lot of us like kind of riled at that. But then when you think about it and you look at the success that platforms like GFN or services like GFN have had, it probably wouldn't be a bad thing to run secondary, right? That will never see the light of day under Stadia. Now, Amazon Luna is rumored to be offering the same thing. We're just going to see how they're going to apply, but Amazon Luna moves at a much slower pace. They just tend to roll things out first, but then the pace that they move at is slower. This is a huge blow for gamers who were looking forward to playing their favorite PC games in the cloud, but on Stadia. Lastly, Stadia was pushing boundaries of gaming technology, was testing new features and technologies that could have revolutionized the way that we play games. With Stadia's closure, we lose a potential avenue for innovation and the advancement of gaming technology. So this is my conclusion as far as my introduction into all this. Stadia's closure is a loss for the gaming community. It was a major player in the cloud gaming space and was pushing boundaries of gaming technology. Its closure limits innovation and competition in the cloud gaming market and removes potential avenue for the advancement of gaming technology. And I hope that sheds some light on what Stadia actually was, who it was targeted for, and what it provided. Now, let's talk about this post-mortem stuff. And before I can do that, I want to give you examples of this stuff that when I said that people got wrong. This is a prime example. Ron Amadeo of Ars Technica, he is notorious for hating on Google, never trusting in them to rely on anything, and therefore just being the largest pessimist for it. He himself in this tweet, now he had a series of egregious and really pathetic tropes that he pounced on when it came to Stadia. It can't do this, it can't do that, which we all debunked him all the time. He wasn't taken seriously. Here he goes. Once Stadia was announced that it was dying, the self-fulfilling prophecy is complete. Like there's something to celebrate here. Nobody bought Stadia because they assumed Google would kill it. And Google is forced to kill Stadia because it's unpopular. Now, why did people assume Google would kill it? Because of people like Ron O'Media, who just simply said, this is what they're going to do. This is what they're going to do. This is what they're going to do. And they etched that so bad into people's minds that Stadia really did something. I mean, Google really did something I don't want to say unprecedented, but it really does, which was cancel a paid for service. They did a lot of things. We showed you here on this channel. We unveiled it here on this channel, investing more into it, shifting its focus and trying to do more to get this more aligned and more streamlined, like, the load change porting and all that other stuff. And they just couldn't break ground because of people like Ron. That's what's at help. 70% of the failure of Stadia is based upon these people. I would say 30% lies upon Stadia themselves. There are a lot of things they could have done better, but even if they would have done them better, it still would have been overshadowed by people, the subject matter experts, as they were considered, all things Google. People didn't know any better. And they were following all the goofy tropes and stuff like that was put out there about Stadia. That's what killed the service. And he says, Google's reputation for killing services killed a service. I'm not sure how the company ever fixes that. Well, it's going to be hard to fix if that's all you as a subject matter expert focuses on. If all of you're doing is taking what happened in the past, despite any realignments that they may do and things like that, and you want to make everything a self-fulfilling prophecy so you seem like you're right, and so then you influence things to happen the way that you want them to, misusing the word of mouth power that you have, then they'll never get over it. They'll never get over it. And just sitting there running around, wringing your hands like Gargamel, looking for Smurfs to boil, instead of finding something else more productive to eat. If that makes you feel happy, then the death of Stadia does not validate you. It makes you even sadder and worse of a source, to where I could never, ever lend you any credibility ever. And I don't think that's something that you can ever fix. So when I see all these people out here say, oh, Stadia was this and this implementation, see this done here, and I wish Stadia would have done it. I want you to go back and look at how Ron Amadeo you were while all this was happening. Just do a little litmus test. And if you were very Ron Amadeo about your coverage of Stadia, about you being part of the self-fulfilling prophecy after, contributing to the self-fulfilling prophecy, I need you to do me a favor. It's an easy one. Simply shut the hell up. Shut up. Just shut up. Shut the F up. All right? That's it. It's not a hard assignment, but it's something that you need to do. And another reason why I don't pay Ron any attention is, from the very beginning, he was off key on what this was. Ron doesn't do his due diligence. He may have a baseline understanding of Google's history more so than anybody else in some type of nerdy fashion, but he doesn't kick the tires on stuff, and he wastes more of his brain power to sit there and just come up with these imaginary land type of scenarios and stuff like that. And the biggest was when it looked like there was a point in time into this, which is the unfortunate circumstances of Stadia, but there was a point in time in 2022 where it looked like Stadia would be sticking around, and everybody was starting to resign to that fact, whether they liked the product or not. And Ron came out with this piece that was just insanity. Oh my God. It was like he was crying while he was writing it. It's not, this thing is closing down. He went from that, the tone changed to, this is why Stadia should close down. And again, he put that out there to totally use his word of mouth power to convince people to contribute to the quote unquote self-fulfilling prophecy. But even well before Stadia was a thing, and it was just Project Yeti, see, remember that? Ron Amadeo, again, failed to kick the tires, do homework, and talk to the right people, and misreported that Stadia was, when it was known as Project Yeti, was going to be a hybrid cloud service / console. And so many things he got wrong about the I don't have time to go over the article we've gone over in the past, but look for it. Ron, look on the internet, Ron Amadeo, Project Yeti, and read the article and laugh, because after the dust settled, everything that he reported on without kicking the tires and putting it out in the ethos was wrong. And for those of you that are being hypocritical now, I wish the Stadia could have done this and all that, while you were sitting there adding to the self-fulfilling prophecy, your homework assignment, again, shut the F up. Just shut up. You sound stupid. With that said, that's it from your boy. Hope you enjoyed this. And hope you guys appreciate your homework assignment. I'm going to go pick up my wife. But again, check us out. PNTS Network, CloudDosage, all those fantastic places to get the latest and greatest in gaming news. And consider joining our PNTS Network Patreon. so you can get access to our special content as it drops weekly. With all that said, I appreciate everybody. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful gaming day.